Hello and welcome to IT Skills 360. I'm your host RJ, and today we are going to talk about why should you learn database and SQL, also called SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. Now, let me tell you, when I started my IT life, I started with database. I didn't know any other language, and even today almost on a daily basis I still need to use data and database. So my friend, data is not never going out of fashion, it can be seen now, but don't take my words, let's dive into it. So you might have heard or seen that data is everywhere. It is growing even at a faster rate than we can think of. So what is all this data coming from? Well, we find the data in various forms. There are numeric data, text data, images, audio, video, you name it. All of these things make up data. Just an example, here is even a simple 1951 Manhattan phone book that also contains data such as the name is there, address is there, phone number is there. Even today we have driver's license, for example, which has driver's number, name, address, date of birth, gender, the expiration date, issue date, things like that. Even your store visit, you purchase something, you get a receipt and it has date, a store number. It will have the item you purchased, the quantity, the rate, the total amount, tax amount. All of these things are making up data. Now, these are traditional examples, but even today we have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagrams. All of these social media sites, they also generate lots of data. You go to different websites, there also you generate data by clicking here and there. That is generating, it's called clickstream data. So data is not, not, there is no shortage of data. But in addition to that, even today we are moving towards smart homes. So we have smart refrigerators, we have smart thermostats, smart door locks, smart bulbs, smart cameras, even smart cars. We have these devices, Amazon Echo, where you communicate, and that is generating or storing your data. There is a Siri on your iPhone, or other voice assistant, Google Assistant. All of these things are nothing but getting data. Now, who uses this data? The application of this data is, you can find it everywhere in any industry. But just an example, education is one of the foremost where you will see data is used and stored. Pharmaceuticals, business side, and any business you take, finance, marketing, HR, sales, inventory, social media, all of these type of industries will require usage of data. Now, all this data, ultimately what do we do with it? So we have to do something with this data, and first and foremost we need to store this data. The voluminous data need to be stored in today's world, and it was the case even many years ago. After the storage, you still need to use it, so you need to analyze that data, and that analysis leads to some presentation where it can lead to some decision making process. So you need to store it, analyze it, present it. All of these operations will require something or other that will need some IT professional. But before we dive into that side, let's consider what are the main types of data. So let's categorize mainly two types. First is, we'll call unstructured data, where the format is not structured, meaning it is not organized in the format we can define. So it is not a predefined format there. These examples are, let's say, text, audio, video, images, especially the data that is coming from social media, they will fall into unstructured category. And the other side is structured data. That will be our focus of discussion. But this structured data, basically it follows a structure. It might have a hierarchical structure. There will be some relationship you can find between certain data points. So all of those things are structured data. The examples could be, let's say, your bank transactions, bank statement, your sales transactions, driving license. All of these are structured data. You can define the format, the relationship, all the different data components. They are usually related. That's why it is also called related data, relational database. Now, so the career wise, what are the options and why it is important? So obviously, no matter where you go, we will find data. Data needs to be managed. It needs to be analyzed. There is a high demand of people who can do this. And for that, because there is a shortage, there is going to be attractive rewards. And for that, these are just traditional data side I'm talking about. There is also, in addition to that, there is something you might have heard again, is called big data, which is nothing but large and voluminous data, basically, also growing at a much faster rate. All of that, data science, machine learning, all of those things, that also requires data. So that's a different, very specific need for people who understand data anyways. Now, all of these leads to different career options. So let's quickly look at what is the task, what kind of skills will be required, and what are the career roles that is available. So in order to store data, you need to understand or learn or have knowledge of database system, database programs. Also, in today's world, we find cloud technology where you can store your data instead of having it in stored in a local, data centers. For these things, you need people who are the roles are called DBA, which is database administrator. Also, some cloud architects, big data architects. All of these roles defined to help out on these tasks. Then there will, after the storage, you still need to manage that stored data. So you need to define certain structure of the data. You need to add data to the existing data. You need to edit existing data. You may have to remove some data. All of these things again helps overall management of data, and for that there are different roles again. There is data engineer, data architects, there is data modeler. Now these roles may overlap some functions, so don't be too hard on one section. And finally, as we said, there will be an analysis will be required for this stored data. For that, you have to have skills to find some pattern. You need to find some answers. You need to create visualizations when you have to present this data. So all of these will require certain career roles, that is called data analyst, business intelligence developers, business and professionals, even data scientists. They do analyze and present it. So there is a lot of things that can be done with data, and that at a various stage of data there will be different roles that will be required to play. Now here is a simple example I found on CIO.com. These are 10 most in demand tech jobs for 2020, it says. And as you can see, there is AI architect, business intelligence analyst, that there is cloud architect, just the ones that we refer to. But all of these, if you go a little deep into it, you'll see that data touches upon all of these one either way of the role that you will have to use data. And as you can see, the rewards are pretty high, almost in six figures that the rewards are. So that is definitely much better than the median salary in the United States today. So the question will come is, okay, that is great, the career options are great, the rewards are great. So what do I do? How do I start my career in learning this? So obviously, the first and foremost, my suggestion would be to start learning the basics, which starts with SQL, or structured query language, as we say. Now this was developed in 1970s. You might have heard Java and Python and all. They were developed, but not this old time that they were existing. So SQL definitely is very, very strong even in today's world. And there is, as I said, there is no shortage of data. So you will need to use SQL almost always to handle the structured data. Now you don't need to learn any other language as such with SQL, but if you do know it, there is no harm, because that concept of any other language will still apply to SQL in some form or the other. And even if you know that other language, let's say Java or Python or C++ or things like that, you will still need to write a code such that it connects to the database and as it's called, is on a back end, and you will need to store data through that program that you have written. So you cannot get away from SQL. And the good news about SQL is it's very easy compared to all these other languages, let's say Java or C++. I'm sure you will, if you have learned it, and if you start learning SQL, you will find it's much easier to learn. And it is very it's a great fun. It's a very simple language. It helps a lot. And if you know any other language, that is going to be helpful either way. So learning SQL will never be harmful for your career. So it will always be helpful. So now, where is SQL used and how it is used? So SQL in standalone may not be helpful. So for that, you need a system behind it which can interpret it. So for that, there are something called relational database management systems, also in short called RDBMS. Now, some of the examples you might have heard, the companies Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Teradata. All of these are nothing but RDBMS, which are database systems basically. And These and you select any of these. These are all owned by different companies. Some are open source, but you if you know SQL, you can apply that query in either of these database systems, and they will be interpreted the same way. So you don't have to keep learning new things even if you switch from Oracle to MicroSQL Server, except there might be a few little syntax changes, but overall you should be good to go. Now the question will be then, okay, that is great, the career options are great and learning SQL is important. Now where do I learn it? Well, since it's a mature language, there are so many options available. You can find there are free open source databases. Even you don't have to pay even a penny. You can install it even in today's these powerful machines. They can handle this database much faster and easier way. So for testing or learning purpose, that you don't have to have a big server installed or anything like that. You can also find lots of online tutorials, videos, and there are tons of books available. But one thing I'll add to that is that I have seen these courses, they start explaining the basics of the SQL, but I prefer to start with the concept of what is the data, what is the relationship, how they are defined and all. So for that matter, just to give you an overall idea and understanding of the database systems, I am planning to create a course which is going to be free, so don't worry about any other promotion here. But that will help you to learn SQL in a much a better way, because your fundamentals will be clear. So I am in the process of creating it. If you have any suggestions, please send me. And of course, I try to put as much value as I can, and to inspire you to consider the database systems or IT as a career and all these things. So I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, or you forward and share this video if you find it useful. As we discussed, this is all about the technology today we talk, but I also am very big fan of learning the soft skills. So I have created a recent video which focuses all on the soft skill side. There will be a link at the end, and you can also check it out. It will be very useful, because it's a skill you shouldn't ignore. Now, having said that, I'm here to help. If you have any other question, please add your comments or send me an email. I'm available at rj@itskills360.com. And always be IT inspired. Thank you so much.